today for our Jewish Family Services Food for Thought program. If you have any questions during the program, feel free to write them in the chat. We'll have Q&As at the end. So today we have with us Jeff Adams. He'll be talking about how to live to 100 and beyond. Thank you for joining us today, Jeff. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and for anyone listening online or anything. Certainly welcome to have you. Also, too, my information will be available, so you can always call me later, or your friends, and so on and so forth. Happy to talk to anybody at any time for any particular reason. I want to tell you, I'm going to start my story, but I want to tell you that living longer is a nice goal, which is kind of the topic what we're talking about. Everyone wants to live longer and so on. But the real good thing is the quality of life is the real target, right? Living longer in a bed with tubes sticking out of you for a couple of years, to me, is not what you want. What you want to be able to do is be moving around, engaging with everybody and so on, and being a person, a real person, and a real part of the world. And so that's what we're trying to do. And I think, as you see, I'm starting with a talk I've given around the country to many groups, and I'm happy to share with you. It's basically my story to give you an idea of how I get into this and so on and so forth. So, we'll go from here, okay? All right. Before I start my story, everyone's going to die, unfortunately. Even if you're trim and athletic on the move every day, that does not mean that heart disease is not going to be a factor in your life, which is the #1 killer. Food is the problem. Food is the problem. And food is the answer. Okay, my story. I went to my regular annual physical to my longtime doctor and friend, Dr. Birday, at Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester, New York. At that time, Rochester was considered to be one of the best medical areas in the world. And I was living in Rochester for many years. I had known him for some time, as we were both squash racket players. And I used to run into him at the squash courts at the University of Rochester Medical Center and elsewhere. After he did all the standard tests, he asked me if there was anything going on with my health in the last year since my last checkup. I did not recall anything. He pushed a little further. And then I recalled a day a few months earlier when I experienced a little uneasiness in my chest. It had not been a sharp pain, so I didn't think it was anything at all. No heart issue, just a little uneasiness, all right? Maybe a little indigestion or something, okay? I told him the experience and added I was not concerned about it, as it quickly went away and had not reoccurred. He responded that because I was over 50, that it might be good to do a few more tests to get a baseline for my heart function. And if I experienced a problem later on in life, I would have something to compare it to, making any diagnosis a little easier. I agreed. Took several more tests, including a nuclear stress test. And a few days later, he called to request a couple more tests, which we did. A couple days later, he called again and suggested some further tests. When I questioned the need for more tests, he responded that they had found something that needed to be looked at, and I agreed to the additional tests. After a couple of days, I received the call to come to review the tests, and on arrival, I could sense there was a difference in his manner. Before, I might have been his patient, but I was also his friend and buddy. Now it's very much formal doctor-patient relationship, and made me feel very uneasy. He looked at me seriously and told me the tests that were run first showed a problem in my heart, and the extra tests confirmed it. Initially, I was not really worried about anything. I thought he might say, as I thought I was in good health, that was just, it was good weight and still playing squash regularly, running, doing exercise classes and so on. But then he says, we have known each other for quite some time. I know your family, I know of your work, of your high quality squash playing and teaching. So I feel I can talk to you frankly without pulling any punches. I have very bad news. We've discovered that your heart is severely and permanently damaged. I've already shown your test results, and he mentioned a couple of squash playing doctors that I knew, and I knew that they're all cardiologists. So I've taken the extra step just to be as certain as I can be. I also be, you're not just my patient, you're also my friend. The big problem is that there's not a procedure that can help you, short of a heart transplant. Not stents, not bypass, nothing can help except getting a heart transplant, a new heart. In order to live, you need a new heart. And very unfortunately, the waiting list for a transplant is about 12 months long. And you only have 4 to 5 months to live. You know that I will do everything I can to help you get one. But I can tell you there's almost no hope that you can get a heart in the time you need one. So I'm telling you today to call your lawyer and your accountant to get your affairs in order, because I've dealt with this before. And believe me, you don't want to wait, because in a short time, you'll be in bed with tubes sticking out of you and everyone you know trying to help you, but there's nothing they can do. And in that kind of condition, you do not want to be having to make those decisions. I know you have a wife and children and a good business, so do the right thing, the smart thing, for yourself and for them, by attending to the serious situation you are faced with today. Do not put it off until tomorrow. Do it today. My first reaction was that there had to be something wrong with what I was hearing, that he had my charts mixed up with somebody else. This could not be happening. I left his office and sat in my vehicle in the parking lot for over an hour, just thinking about what I'd been told. Then I made a few decisions. First, I would do as he suggested and talk to my people about how to make my departure as painless for everyone else associated with me. I also decided not to tell my wife. Each day of her not knowing would be one less day of worry for her. And I liked that. I decided to tell our 2 children on the condition they do not tell their mother. Decided to tell my brother and sister on the condition they do not tell my wife. Of course, they're all blood relatives, and the sooner they had this information, I thought, the better. Lastly, I decided to obtain another opinion from an outer area doctor not connected with this hospital group at all, as I already had more than one opinion from the doctors that practice there. My doctor also scheduled a cardiologist to look at my arteries for additional information and so on. So I soon find myself just outside the operating room being prepped for an angiogram a couple of days later. 3 different nurses came to talk to me, and each asked me if my wife was there so she could come in for a minute to wish me good luck before the operation. They said that if they found something, they would do whatever operation they felt they had to do to try and save my life. I remember signing the paperwork giving permission to do anything they wanted and decided they needed to do, and wondering why the nurses seemed so concerned my wife and children were not there. Then it hit me. I had only told my wife that I was getting a regular test. All of a sudden I realized, excuse me, that I could die from this procedure. And if nothing else, I might end up in the hospital for quite a while. And my lovely wife would not have any idea what was happening to me. I wanted to tell them to forget the procedure. But at that time, I was actually being wheeled into the operating room, wondering if I would ever see her or anything else again. After I woke up, it turned out that no other procedure was done. My doctor told me nothing had changed about his prognosis, and nothing could be done. 2 days later, I received a call from the out-of-town doctor that I had seen to obtain another opinion. And he told me that he thought my current doctor was being a bit optimistic. He thought that I only had between 3 and 4 months to live, not 4 to 5. Not what I wanted here. Now, I owned and operated my own wholesale and retail book business. A warehouse had over 2 million books in it. I had 5 retail stores in the Rochester, Buffalo area. I knew that I had some books on heart disease. So I looked in one of our retail stores and ran across Dr. Dean Ornish's book, Program for Reversing Heart Disease. Okay, I took it right home and started reading it. It made sense to me, and I decided that I really did not have anything to lose, dying anyway. Why not give it a try? When my wife came home that day, she owned her own successful yarn shop business. I told her that I was going to change my diet and that I wanted to take over the cooking from now on. She knew that was very strange, but she also knew that's what I wanted to do. Although she was a good cook, she never really liked it with the stress of her own business all the time. So she probably think it was only a short-lived time. Gracie said, okay. After reading the book, I gave it the best effort I could, hoping for the best. I immediately cut out all animal products from our diet except for a modest amount of wild caught salmon, a little shrimp, and a little egg whites. That was part of Dean Ornish's suggestions. One thing I did was really good is I started making large batches of food, often enough for 3 or 4 meals. Then when we eat them every few days, I would freeze some for another time. Easy to add a little spice or the veggie to change the taste and texture. You're not eating the exact same meal over and over again. The amount of effort it took to cook lots of food is not too much more than cooking just enough for a single meal. I suggest you give it a try if you haven't done that. A month or 2 later, with increased energy and feeling better, I ran into my doctor walking by the squash courts. He wondered how I was doing and was very concerned, since he had not seen me, to see how the problem was progressing. I told him that I completely reversed my diet and felt better than I had in many, many years. His view was that diet would not deal with the situation at all. The diet schmiet, ain't gonna do nothing. And then we should do the tests again and see what's happening. I agreed, and we did all the tests again for days. Days later, he called and told me to come in for the results. Again, I felt the friendship melt away as a doctor-patient atmosphere exists when I met him to get the results of the new tests. He sat about 20 feet from me, reviewing the newest tests, looking at the x-ray results on the giant table, light table. I looked at him very nervously. I knew that while I was feeling much better, that did not mean I was in fact better. Several minutes went by with me sitting there looking at him again and again at all my test results. And then he hung his head in what looked to me like defeat. And it seemed that I started to cry. I assumed that indeed it was the end for me. He looked at me and said, there must have been something wrong with the machines. Although I heard that, it did not register what he was saying at all. I said, what? And he said again, must have been something wrong with the machines when we did the first test, because these new test results show that you are getting better. I know that with your serious condition, that is medically impossible. I leaped up from my chair and shouted, Yahoo! And when I jumped up, he recoiled as though he thought I was going to attack him. I said over and over again, I knew I felt better. I knew I felt better. And it seemed like I was getting better. Now I knew I was. Something wrong with the machines? Was there also something wrong with the other doctor's machines? I don't think so. When first diagnosed, I was put on 6 medications. My total cholesterol was 287. It was now down to 177. My blood pressure was now normal. All my other readings were completely safe. My doctor still insisted that diet alone could not do any good for me, and I needed to pay close attention to how I felt going forward to maximize my time alive. A few days later, I ran across a notice in our neighborhood about an Ornish support group. It was a meeting I attended and subsequently joined the group, and everyone had some kind of cardiac problem and decided to follow Dr. Ornish's recommendations as I had done. Having people with similar concerns and being able to talk and learn about the subject was a real help. The group did many video talks with Dr. Ornish, and I used to go to the meeting across in Blue Shield in West Virginia all the time, right? To talk to him and support him and ask questions and that kind of thing. And got to know him much better. We've become good friends. A short time after my doctor's visit, the China Study book came out, written by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. I read that immediately. I also discovered Dr. John McDougall's books and read them. Then I refined my diet even more, totally eliminating all animal products, No more salmon or shepherd egg whites. Ornish no longer recommends that, any of that. With a month, my total cholesterol went down to 138. This result happened even though I stopped taking all my medications earlier. I disliked the side effects at the time. Did not seem like it was going to be much of a decision. I was going to die in a month or so anyway. Excuse me. I got my doctor friend to let me use his computer in his office so I could do research about the nutrition area in my heart condition and the real medical websites. As he was part of the university, he did not have to pay to get the research information, because I would have to pay per page to see it on my own computer at about $10 a page, and most of the 100+ research papers were over 30 to 50 pages long. So I wasn't going to pay for that. What I could find and understand reinforced my decision to let nutrition be a path to my living longer. A couple of times in talking with my doctor friend, he referred to me in front of other doctors as a 3M'er. I never heard that phrase before, a 3M'er. I asked his secretary what it meant, and she told me that I was being referred to as a modern medical miracle. I mean, amazing. All of this happened over 19 years ago, almost 20 now. I moved from Rochester to Savannah, Georgia about 12 years ago. After looking at the obvious lack of health in the general population in Savannah, I decided to start a support group here and dedicated the remainder of my life to get the great work of Dr. Ornish, Campbell, McDougall, Esselstyn, Greger, and others out to as many people as I possibly could. Heartbeats for Life is the name of their organization. And I'm proud to say we're really getting great results, proven by local doctors and hospitals. Even here in the South, where eating butter and cheese and meat is considered to be the only way to eat. We have very comprehensive class programs where you get the how and the why to do it right. Even some local doctors tell the patients, tell their patients about us and to take our program, which is really great because we don't pay them a penny. Now, those programs have been suspended because of COVID, but you probably thought of that. But anyway, in Rochester, I used to give talks every few months at the hospital to the doctors and nurses about what I suggest and what I do. When I moved here, I went to the local hospital to see if they would like to give me talks here. At first I said, yeah. Then they asked me to show them what I'm going to talk about. When I gave them the information, right, they said that they changed their minds and I could not give any talks. When I asked for details, the explanation was of why it was not going to happen. They didn't give me any reasons until when leaving in one of the meetings, I said to one of the administrators, I just didn't understand why I was refused. I did it for the other hospital all the time. Finally, you tell me you're right. You don't understand. We make our money from doing procedures, prescribing drugs and medications. And there is no money in telling people what to eat. So it's never going to happen. So I did not die as in 3 to 6 months as predicted. I changed my diet completely, stopped taking any medications, and still not take any now. As I tell many people, when you're convinced that you are about to die, there's nothing you can do about it, you do not die, then every morning when I wake up, it's a new day, a new life. And so even were I to die in the next minute, I would have felt for almost 19 years that every morning is a special, an extra day of life that I thought I would never, ever see. So feel good for me that I was able to beat the odds all this time. I know I do. Lastly, this is about me, but also about you, not your wife or your husband, not your mother or father, not your brother or sister, not your son or daughter. You are the one to decide what goes in your mouth. You. This works. Do it. Here are some statements from a few people who have gone through our 7-session class program, which is very comprehensive. That's why the doctors love it so much, that it suggests their patients come. On January 29th, the day of the snowstorm, it didn't happen. My wife received our first delivery from local farm bag, and she read the website. She spotted a notice about Heartbeats for Life, which she thought was a cooking class. She called Jeff Adams and enrolled me in the 7-week class. Probably one of the best spur-of-the-moment decisions she has ever made. Jeff and Carolyn Gifford. Carolyn Gifford was a reporter for the newspaper and so on, and is a nurse and has helped me with our meetings sometimes. Taught me about the benefits of a plant-based diet. They share their knowledge on how to lower cholesterol, diabetes, ward off Alzheimer's disease, lose weight in the process. I wasn't sure I could follow this new way of eating, especially I enjoyed eating steak and cheese, loaded potatoes often. However, since it was only 7 weeks, I thought I'd at least give it a try. And try I did. I've adhered to the plan, lost 4 pounds the first week, a total of 27 pounds in the 9 weeks since the class began. My blood pressure is down significantly. My doctor is taking me off most of my meds, and the rest should follow. There was that was great because it's saving us a lot of money each month. Jeff gave us many easy to make plant-based recipe. He also cooked several dishes for us, many of which become a staple of our new eating plan. Jeff, Carolyn, Heartbeats for Life made the new people out of me and my wife. We live in a healthier, thinner, more active life. When I was 50 years old, this is from Tom R. When I was 50 years old, Dr. Gilly and Chatham Medical gave me a complete physical. I said I had hypertension, high blood pressure. Also said I'd be taking medications for the rest of my life. About 10 years later, Dr. Robert Brown said I type medications that the rest of my life. In August of 2012, I was in Daphne Park walking through a health fair, and I met Jeff Adams in a tent. The sign says 7 days of classes to lose diabetes. He gave me handouts, verbal information about healthy eating. It made sense to me. I thought about trying to change my eating. I attended one of the monthly meetings to hear more and signed up for the next program. At that time, I started the program 100%. Only 6 weeks later, had blood work done by Dr. Brown, and everything was normal. My total cholesterol, not the two numbers, total cholesterol was 92, down over 100 points. You don't know too many people that have total cholesterol that's less than 100. Blood pressure was when I was 20, diabetes completely gone, and I lost a lot of excess weight without feeling hungry, restricting portions. It was just absolutely great. I attribute all this to Jeff and Carolyn. Without their information and help through the program, I never achieved this great improvement in my life. I would never go back to my old habits. And the last one, I don't have heart disease since I went through menopause. However, my cholesterol is going up, and so is my LDL. Plus, I'm over 55. Because of this, I was extremely motivated to join the program because of my husband. Over the past years, he failed quadruple bypass surgery, been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, had multiple stents put in. When his bypass collapsed, I knew that we had no choice. This program was the only thing that was going to save his life. At first, he was reluctant, which he really infuriated me because I thought he was valuing food more than his life. But our family doctor got through to him, and we started in July. There is no way you can go through this program, do what you're supposed to do, and not see everything turn around for you positive in every way. Just great. This program's honestly been a life changer for us. My husband's health has completely turned around. He lost 30 pounds, hasn't any further heart disease symptoms, and is healthier and more confident than ever before. I felt a lot better too. My cholesterol has decreased, my LDL has decreased, I've lost some weight and dropped 2 dress sizes. My blood work has been great. I noticed the changes, such as mental clarity, better sleep, and more energy. My phone is ringing. You hear it in the background, but let it go. Sorry. Hope it's not bothering everybody. Each component of the program, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and group support has been beneficial for us. At first, changing our eating habits was difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you've eaten meat your entire life, it makes it somewhat difficult, but it's not impossible. When you think about it, the ultimate goal. I've been able to tailor the meals to our tastes. I generally like to cook and try to be creative. I've revamped my traditional recipes and make them health friendly, which has really helped. The group support has had large impact on me. I had a friend who went through the program a couple of years ago, and she described the program's impact on me like finding Jesus. I knew there was going to be a life altering. The program has brought me and my husband closer in our relationship, giving us common goals. It has given us the confidence to know that when we do retire, we hope we won't have to have any restrictions on our lifestyle. It also has given me peace of mind. Want to set a better example for my children, as well as my grandchildren. The program has made me confident that I'm doing everything I can to live a longer, happy, healthier life, a new quality of life that I thought I would never achieve. To anyone who is thinking of joining this program, I would urge him or her to give it a chance. It's only a few weeks for a lifetime of benefits. If you give it 100% and don't notice a change in every aspect of your life, then I'd be very surprised. There's no way you can go through this program, do what you're supposed to do, and not see everything turn around for you. It certainly has for Ralph and myself. The program has allowed us to take control of our health, reshuffle the cards we've been decked. It's allowed us to enjoy a rewarding life and live as independently for as long as possible. Without this program, I would be much heavier, my cholesterol and blood pressure would be much higher, and I wouldn't be feeling nearly as good as I am now. I can honestly say I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life. It has been a total life-altering experience in the best possible way. My suggestion is give Jeff a call now and join his class to get as healthy as you can. Okay, so that's my stuff. All right, now, I have a small cooking demonstration I want to do for you, okay? And first we're going to show you a small video. What I'm going to do is, I have a bag and a piece of corn on the cob. Corn on the cob in the Kroger's bag that I bought a couple hours ago. Okay. This short video is a friend of mine from many years, Dr. Michael Greger, who you'll get to know very well. Was kindly been here to Savannah. He came here to talk to us, which was absolutely amazing. Hope you had a chance to see him. He has a great website. Take a look. At the end of all my notes and everything, there's going to be a list of all this stuff. There's going to be a list you can look at. That'll be on the JEA's website, a copy of this talking, take a look at. And it has a nice list of books and DVDs that are available at your local library, no charge. So first I'm going to take this corn and place it in the microwave. Yes, I'm going to cook it in the microwave, okay? And now we're about to play the first video. Sonny, when you can. Thank you.
In 1903, Thomas Edison predicted that the doctor of the future would give no medicine, but would instead instruct their patient in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. 101 years later, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine was born. We still prescribe drugs when necessary, but our emphasis is based on the understanding that the leading causes of disability in the United States and the leading causes of death are caused mostly by lifestyle, particularly what we put in our mouth, food and cigarettes. An impressive number of studies have shown that lifestyle is the root cause of what ails us. The good news, though, is that by changing our lifestyle, we can dramatically improve our health. We have the power. For most leading causes of death, we've long known that our genes account for, at most, 10 to 20% of risk, given the fact that rates of killers like heart disease and major cancers differ up to 100-fold among various populations, and that when people migrate from low-risk to high-risk countries, their disease rates almost always change to those of the new environment. For example, at least 70% of strokes and colon cancer are avoidable, over 80% of coronary heart disease, over 90% of type 2 diabetes, avoidable. So maybe it's time we stop blaming our genes and focus on the 70% plus under our control. That may be the real solution to the healthcare crisis. And it doesn't take much. Adhering to just 4 simple healthy lifestyle factors can have a strong impact on the prevention of chronic diseases. Not smoking, not being obese, half-hour exercise a day, and eating healthier, like more fruits, veggies, whole grains, less meat. 4 simple things cut our risk of developing a chronic disease by 78%. 95% of disease risk out the window. 80% of heart attack risk gone. Half a stroke risk, a third of cancer risk simply gone. Think of what that means in terms of the numbers. As it stands now, each year, 1 million Americans experiences their first heart attack or stroke. 1 million get diabetes, 1 million get cancer. If we clean up our act, do we actually get to live longer too? Well, the CDC followed about 8,000 Americans 20 years or older for about 6 years. They found that 3 cardinal lifestyle behaviors exerted an enormous impact on mortality. People who do not smoke, consume a healthy diet, and engage in sufficient physical activity can substantially reduce their risk of early death. And by not smoking, they just meant not currently smoking. By healthy diet, they just meant in the top 40% in terms of complying with the rather wimpy federal dietary guidelines. And physically active meant averaging about 21 minutes a day or more of at least moderate exercise. Those that managed at least one of the 3 had a 40% lower risk of dying. Those that hit 2 out of 3 cut their chances of dying more than half, and those that scored all three flushed 82% of their chances of dying in those 6 years down the drain. What does that mean in terms of how much longer we get to live? A similar study on health behaviors and survival didn't just take people's word on how healthy they were eating. They measured the level of vitamin C in people's blood as a biomarker for how many plants people were eating. And the drop in mortality risk in those nailing all 4 healthy behaviors was equivalent to being 14 years younger. It's like turning back the clock 14 years.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Okay, so I put that in the microwave. All right, we'll watch this video. Now, once that's over, I'm going to flip it over and cook it another 3 minutes for a total of 7 minutes for the one. And we're going to show another short video, so I'm not just sitting here waiting for that. And then we'll go through it real quick. So if we could play video number 2, I appreciate it.
Probably the least controversial advice in all of nutrition is eat more fruits and vegetables, which is to say eat more plants, since the term vegetable just basically means all parts of plants that aren't fruit. Eat more fruits and vegetables if for no other reason than to live longer, but only recently did we learn how much longer. The first study to follow people over time to evaluate a dose-response curve between fruit and vegetable consumption and mortality. Compared to those eating 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day, those only eating 4 lose a month off their lifespan. Only 3 servings lose 3 months. Then we start going off the cliff. 2 servings a day, we live 7 months shorter. 1 serving, practically a year and a half. 2 years gone at half serving a day, and then 3 years of our lives down the drain. Just a single serving of fruit, just like 1 apple, could mean a 19-month difference between life and death. And 1 daily salad could mean years more time on this planet. This study mostly looked at people in their 50s and 60s. Is it too late by our 70s? No. Women in their 70s with the most carotenoid phytonutrients in their bloodstream were twice as likely to survive 5 years than those with the lowest, doubling one's likelihood of survival just eating some more fruits and vegetables. In this study out of Taiwan, spending just 50 cents a day on fruits or vegetables appears to buy us about a 10% drop in mortality. That's quite a bargain. Imagine if there was a drug that, without side effects, could lower our risk of death 10%. How much do you think drug companies would charge? Probably more than 50 cents.
Okay, I'm just going to get the corn out of the microwave in just 10 seconds. Okay. Hope you can see this a bit. So it was in the bag. The corn is in the bag. I just set it on this table. And I have a knife, nice knife. Now, something important I want to show you, and that is this, that you can see how the corn is and how the corn has begun to grow here. This is where it's first forming. All right, you can see that, I think. Right where this is. Okay, can you see that? Okay, fine. All right. So, leaving it in the bag there, I'm going to take and cut that, not right here, but about maybe, I'm sorry, where am I? Okay. Maybe about a 1/2 inch back. Okay, so a little bit up here. Does that make sense? Can you see that all right? Oh, I'm muted.
We can see and hear you, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you. All right. Okay. So that's where I'm going to cut it. Okay. So I cut it. You can see that. All right. Now I'm grabbing where all the silk is and everything. All right. I'm going to turn it over, give it a squeeze, and give it a little shake. And what you got.
I've been doing it that way for 10 years.
Oh, okay, good. Good for you.
Saves a lot of effort, and it's cleaner, and it's all the nutrients, and you don't cook it out.
That's right. You're 100% right. In addition to that, for many of you that do like corn and so on, you're going to taste real corn maybe for the first time. No butter, no oil, no salt, no nothing. It's real fresh corn. Now, besides eating on the cob, which is great, if you want to eat it in a soup or something like that, and you want fresh corn to use rather than frozen or something, all you do is just take this plate. Let's see, put it down on top, flat parts down. Still hot. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this or not, but all you do then is just cut it off. Okay. So you can see all the corn here and so on, right? So you can just cut that off and you got it, you toss it in your soup and you're ready to go. Okay. Once it's cooked, make sure you have a pot holder, use a pot holder because the corn will be quite hot. We saw me just grab it from the end, cut it, and you're all set to go. Okay. Many people tell me, like the gentleman just did, right? Once they discovered how to do this, they do it all the time. And that includes me too. That's the way I cook corn all the time. There's just no better way of doing it. Also too, when you do that in the bag, in the microwave, you put it on a cover and you cut it on top of the bag, you can take all their stuff, put it in the bag, just toss the bag away, and the microwave is clean, the counter is clean, no big deal. It really is absolutely great. Okay, one thing I want to mention is the fact that if you cook an ear, it's about 7 minutes. You do about half, flip it over in about half. You do 2 ears, it's not double that, it's only 12 minutes. You do half, flip it over in about half. 3 ears, about 15 minutes. So you do it 7.5 minutes, flip it over 7.5 minutes, and you're done. It doesn't have to be exact, and you could do it, 6 and 8, whatever you're doing, all right? No big deal. But it really does good, just really great. Okay. Talking about living longer and so on. Over the last century, the biggest boost in lifespan has been due to the introduction of antibiotics and immunizations and proper sanitation. Life expectancy has increased since the beginning of the 20th century, from age 47 to current 77. Right? By stopping infectious disease that killed people from birth to young adult. It isn't the fact that we're living longer. It's the fact that infants aren't dying as much, youngsters aren't dying as much, so the overall lifespan is on. The oldest person of authentic record is a French woman who lived to be 122 years old. About 50 people are alive today, 110 years or older. And there's pleasantly about 80,000 known people that reached 100 or so. Almost all of these successful survivors never saw a doctor until after age 90. Obviously, the exception of longevity had nothing to do with medical intervention. Can you name for me one of the 3 most air polluted places in the world? Can you name for me one of the places that is surrounded by 3 of the most polluted rivers in the world? Can you name for me the heaviest smoking population in the world? Can you name for me the place that has the longest living population? Okinawa. Yes, they live in the most polluted places on the planet, but yet they have the longest life. How can that be? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's what they eat. Completely plant-based, low-fat, whole foods. It's what they do. Moving all day, not sitting hardly at all. Doing their gardening, doing walking, doing working, doing everything else, walking to whatever, so on and so forth. Staying connected, involved in family. So they're all big groups and that kind of stuff. And in the community, everybody helping everybody else. About 100,000 Okinawans moved to Brazil and then quickly adapted the eating rhythm of their new home, Brazil. One heavy on meat. Result, the life expectancy of the Brazilian Okinawans is now 17 years lower than those that did not move. The younger generation goes to the fast food outlets that surround the military bases. The change would be devastating results. Okinawans younger than 50 have Japan's highest rates of obesity, heart disease, and premature death. So it's not their genes or anything else except what they eat and that they seldom move their bodies. It's not their genes or anything else except what they eat and that they seldom move their bodies. When you eat this way, your energy level goes up. So it's not to exercise, it's just moving to enjoy life, a long life, a much longer life. Our class program gives you all that information and so on. The most common remark is, I feel 20 years younger after they graduated, right? We have this little longer quiz. This will only take a few minets.
Just so you know, we have 5 minutes until we have our Q&As.
Okay, all right, I'll just do this then. And we'll skip the last video then. Okay, all right, live longer and better quiz. Which one of these is the most likely to improve your memory after age 50? Solving crossword and Sudoku puzzles, going on regular walks, taking ginkgo biloba and other supplements. The answer, going on regular walks. Human brains should be shrink with age, impairing memory, and explaining why your car keys keep disappearing. But a relative study published in 2012, physically active people with less brain shrinkage, mentally stimulating, no benefit was found with the supplements. No benefit was found with the supplements. In fact, really, supplements make things worse. What's the best treatment for creaky arthritic knees? Sitting down, taking supplements, doing Tai Chi, taking shark cartilage pills. C, in controlled environments, glucosamine and shark cartilage fail to relieve knee pain, right? But stretches and poses and Tai Chi and so on, moving around, that's effective in controlling pain and physical function. So not the pills, moving around. And it doesn't mean you're running marathons, it just means you're moving. Which of these 2 habits could save the most time off your life? Watching TV or smoking? Which would shave the most time off your life? Watching TV or smoking? Every adult who spends over 25 sitting watching TV can cut about 22 minutes from their lifespan. Smoking a cigarette reduces lifespan by 11 minutes. So every hour you sit watching, you cut 22 minutes. You smoke a cigarette, you cut 11. Do them both, you're in trouble. Stand up while using a computer, talking on a phone, watching TV. You ever hear of a treadmill desk? There you go. All you gotta do is just keep on. Believe me, it's once you do a little bit, it's like you should have been doing it all your life, what you really should have been. It's great, absolutely great. So now everybody at home and so on, please stand up. Thank you. Sit down. Look, please stand up again. Thank you. Now you can sit down. Well, that wasn't hard, was it? Okay. So what you're doing, you did some exercise. Very good. Okay. True or false? You're middle-aged and have spent the past 20 years smoking, avoiding exercise, and otherwise being unhealthy. It's too late to change now. No, it's not. People who quit smoking by age 40 gain nearly 10 years of life. Right? Cooper Clinic, people who started exercising middle age, even though they walked only a few times. We're not talking about marathons again. We're just talking about walking a little bit, right? Increasing their quality of life as well. To feel younger, just open your window blinds. Yes, looking out the windows and natural scenes and so on and so forth, and particularly if you can smell the air and that kind of stuff, makes you feel much better and so on. It really does help. As you age, volunteering can decrease depression, improve your sex life, both of the above. Great thing is both of the above, all right? You volunteer, you're meeting people, you're moving around a little more and so on, and all that helps your sex lives as well as just life in general. If you're physically active and sociable, can you expect to add how many years to your lifespan? Half a year, year and a half, 3.5, 5.4. People 75 or older who swam, walked, or did stretching regularly, at least modern social network, live more than 5 years longer. Even those past age 85, could expect an extra 4 years of life if they remain active and socially engaged. Plus that 4 years of life was better quality of life than if they would not have done that, believe me. If you're a woman over 40 and worried about improving bone health and so on, falls, what do you want to do? Running, soccer, a cane or walking stick? The answer is soccer, because you're moving around and twisting and so on, and that puts a little strain on those things, and which makes them improve. So that's good. What's the best way to motivate yourself to be physically active at age 40? Join a gym, adopt a dog, cut out a photo of First Lady Obama's biceps, hire a personal trainer. Okay. The idea is most people, dog. Right? A study of people up to age 80, dog owners were found to walk about 300 minutes a week, almost twice as many of those without a dog. And dog owners are significantly more likely to follow through on the intention walk, because who could say no to that face? And their health was really great. And finally, as an inspiration, in 2011, a runner at the Toronto Marathon became the oldest person ever to finish the race of that distance, ever finish a marathon. He was 72, 86, 91, or 100. He was 100, all right? He set the world record for crossing the finish line 8 hours and 25 minutes. 9 runners younger than him finished behind him. Can you imagine that, running a marathon and all of a sudden the guy beating you is over 100 years old? He retired from competitive running at the age of 101. He's now 109. He's still active and fully intends to continue walking and running for pleasure, health, and for charity and so on. Okay. I think for the most part, we can, because time is running out here, we can close down, and thank you very much for everybody. You'll get my information. You can look it up. You can see this again, plus other information too that you didn't get a chance to see. I certainly recommend you doing that, particularly the reading list and so on. And so go back to the website, the JEA, and take a look at some point in time. And please share that information with your friends. And don't forget, I am here for you. Happy to help. So I've been doing for the last 20 some years. Just great. Thank you so very much to the JEA for allowing me to do this and for having us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Just a reminder, I did post Jeff's information at the chat. If you would like to write it down, go ahead and do so. We now will open up for Q&As. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask anything you have for Jeff.
I guess you're not going to post my question about what happens if you don't have a sex life to begin with?
Well, sex is just part of life, okay? Which means the rest of your party life should improve dramatically, okay? All right, believe me, it makes a big difference both ways. And I can tell you right now, sir, just speaking man to man, is the fact that many people who had not had a sex life and done this, all of a sudden got a sex life back. And they couldn't, them and their wife they couldn't believe it, but they did. And so it's really been great. And those that
All
do,
right.
it's great.
I guess there's still hope.
Yes, right. Yeah, but you got to do it. Okay. And I'm happy to help. Okay. So just give me a shout.
You're going to help with my sex life?
Sorry.
That was too easy.
I can make some diagrams for you.
Thank you. I know my way around.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else with a question? Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for joining us today. This was live streamed, so anybody who would like to rewatch it again is welcome to do so on our YouTube channel or our Facebook. I wanted to invite everybody else to join us again next week with the same time and the same link. We'll be having a Passover trivia with me, and we'll be getting some prizes. So please, everybody, join us next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.